go to God because God gives them something. God didn't give them anything. They won't go. It's not a selfless act. People go to church because they want to go to heaven. They want to be paid.
Yeah.
So there is a transaction. There was a case in October 2022 when hired killers wanted to assassinate me. When Chimaro Kenlamani was governor of Enugu State.
Wow.
And when they didn't eventually do what they were paid for, I would say that surviving that incident was like a point again to look at life and how it could go just in a second. I will also remember probably another moment when death came calling. I was sitting in a car and slept off the steering.
Right. Thank you so much, Monsignor, for giving us this opportunity to have a chat with you. And then for our listeners, Monsignor Professor Obiora Ike is a priest of the Diocese of Enugu, ordained in 1981. He's a scholar and also a professor of ethics and intercultural studies. And he holds multiple advanced degrees in theology, in philosophy, in economics, in political science, in journalism, and of course all that. Monsignor is widely known as a champion of social justice and peace and human dignity. And this year he is celebrating his 70th birthday anniversary. He's also celebrating 45 years as a priest. He's also celebrating 40th year of founding the Catholic Institute of Development, Justice and Peace. Monsignor, you're highly welcome to this interaction.
Thank you, Father.
I'm so happy to have you in the midst. I mean, you are celebrating your 70th birthday as a human person, and also 45 years as a priest, and then 40 years of founding this powerful institution, SIGJA. I mean, at 70, in fact, the Bible says our lifespan is 70, and then 80 for those who are strong. But I wouldn't want to go further what the Bible mentioned at the other verses. But at the 70, when you look back at the road you have traveled, at what moment would you describe as a turning point in your life as a human person?
Turning point?
Yes.
I've not seen one. Because every day comes with its own challenges and with its own opportunities. So I wouldn't even see any turning point in life except if one will talk about when one saw death and didn't die. There was a case in October 2022 when hired killers wanted to assassinate me. When Chimaro Kenlamani was governor of Enugu State.
Wow.
And when they didn't eventually do what they were paid for, I would say that surviving that incident was like a point again to look at life and how it could go just in a second, just like that. I will also remember probably another moment when death came calling. I was sitting in a car and slept off the steering. And with the secretary of the bishop sitting beside me and other priests, seminarians, then we landed in a bush. And when my eyes opened, it was almost done and nothing happened to anybody, not a scratch. So these are what you might call looking back to see moments when we would have died and we didn't die. But there are many, many moments anytime you sleep. What Jesus calls death is sleep. The little girl is sleeping, she's not dead. So anytime we sleep and wake up, it's almost like a turning point also. It's always a new opportunity. I am someone who lives for every day just enough. Sufficient for the day is the evil thereof. Therefore, I've not seen any great turning point in that sense, except to say that every day has been a blessing.
Right, Monsignor, you mentioned 2002, right? I think I remember that incident. And you're a priest. The priesthood is a gift. It's also a privilege, but it is a cross, so to say. Can we just say that was the moment when you experienced the weight of the cross of the priesthood? Because as a champion of social justice, you are trying to talk truth to power then.
It's not just then. We talk truth to power every day. Every sermon is like an approach to bring the message of hope, the message of faith to people. That moment was not even for me a cross. It was almost like a moment you might say was biblical, because the things I told the killers was that, is that why you came? What are you waiting for? Don't you know I'm a Catholic priest? You don't fear to die. Someone sent you to kill a priest and you came and you are not afraid? If you want to kill me, then please go ahead, but know that the blood will be on your head. So I was speaking like this, and that's not just language of the cross. It was almost like challenging these evil intentions. And even when they wanted, I said, before you shoot, give me one moment. Join me to my chapel. I want to say my last prayers, and you can do what you are paid. And they really joined me to the chapel. I closed my eyes. They did.
Whoa.
It was 3 persons all carrying guns. I knelt down, closed my eyes, and for the first 2-3 minutes, everything absolute silence. But then there was a voice from theirs that said, you are a good man.
Whoa.
We know you. We shall not touch you. We were sent to kill you, but we didn't even see you. And that was the end of the drama. So do I call it a cross? I call it a moment of grace. And there are many moments, but there are moments of cross, of course, when you have done. That's not just one day, that's every day. Just Jesus tells us, carry your cross daily. And we know what it means when you have to wake up for morning mass, when you have to listen to people's pains, and you do not know how to solve all the problems, when you have to write very difficult paper, when you have to take decisions about human lives, when you have to sort out and do the things for which the Bible recommends for us, when you are in what we call ethical dilemmas. There are many moments like this.
So, you were ordained a priest in 1981. I mean, what inspired you to the priesthood? Do you have models?
Well, as the youngest priest in Enugu Diocese ever ordained, I've been looking at the statistics. I'm not sure any of our priests have been ordained at 24, ordained at 24, and full priest at 25. But what can one say inspires you to become a priest? It's a calling. I don't remember anything. I just remember that the only thing I wanted to be was being a priest, and I think I had that vocation. But when did that vocation come? I remembered my earliest moments of being, what you might call it, of being conscious. When I was 5 years probably, was wearing we were born in the north, wearing babanriga and being the confessor for my siblings. I will wear a towel on my neck as if it was a stone.
Whoa.
We had only white priests then. And I always answered Reverend Father. I became a master by the age of 7, in my first Holy Communion, and I was always near to the altar. So something fascinated me, but what can that be? What's that moment? And there has never been any other thing that I wanted to do than to be a clergyman, follow Christ as a priest. And I've never regretted it for one day.
And I'm so happy to hear that, because it's an encouragement for us younger priests who are coming up, and also young seminarians, and not just seminarians, but also other young people who, of course, look up to you. So one can describe your priesthood as a bridge between faith and culture, faith and the academia, or rather, someone would say faith and then the society, so to say, because you're a professor of social ethics. I mean, when faith confronts injustice, what must the church never be silent about? How would the church react to the whole thing?
Well, there are 3-4 questions in one. For example, being a bridge builder, and the matters of relationship between faith and culture. But I would like to really describe it. We who are called to become ambassadors of Christ, don't forget Jesus tells us, I no longer call you servants, I call you friends, because I've made known to you all that the Father has given to me. And what Jesus did in the incarnation was to unite heaven and earth. That means he took part in a culture, he took flesh. That is incarnation, when God becomes human. Mystery, we call it. But that mystery is a very historical description. God becomes part of limitation. History is limited. It starts here and ends here. Now God lives, who is eternal, comes to join human history. He's born in year this, he dies in year that. He lives for X number of years. And then he speaks the language of the people. He eats their food. He does the miracles which he does. There is something about the call of the priesthood being a person we might call pontifex, bridge builder. That's what we call the Pope, Maximus. But every clergyman, in fact, Christians are called to be bridge builders. And you build this bridge in the context of Nigeria between faith and culture. We're a very young church. And the Nigerian church in Enugu Diocese is probably 120 years, on which our archdiocese, 1885, the first missionaries came here. That's just about 141 years ago. But what has happened in what is just almost one generation, one life, call it now 2 generations. So we are a young church, and we are dealing with what you might call just trying to receive the faith for the first time. We call it primary evangelization. Many people have not even heard the word. One needs to go to villages and tell them about Christ and about Jesus, and they say, what is it? So it's not like other cultures where Christianity has stayed for 1,000 years, 2,000 years consistently, where the structures are there. So we are a young church, fascinated. But then what is the relevance between faith and culture? Between dialogue of civilizations and dialogue of life? That's where I found myself using St. Paul's writing to the Corinthians in chapter 9. That was my motto, omnibus omnia, to be all things to all people. That's what we are called to be in this part of the world. We are dealing with non-Christians, we are dealing with Muslims, we are dealing with non-believers, we are dealing with atheists, we are dealing with academics, we are dealing with all sorts of, we are dealing with people who are pious and they are even living in contradictions. So how could we become all things to all people in order to save some? That was simple, in order to save some. These are the challenges where your question resonates very clearly, that it is a gift. It is a gift to think it, it is grace to act it, and it is not by one's own power, but you make some effort. And that effort is complemented. There's something about living consciously and being intentional about the future, about what you want. This is what you learn when you study under the Jesuits. But it doesn't start with the Jesuits. I do know that the seminary formation gives us also that kind of thing. I started my junior seminary at the height of the Biafra War in 1969. And there was a war, there was no Enugu Diocese, it was on refuge. So we had to go to All Hallows Seminary. All Hallows was also on refuge in Obiora. So we joined All Hallows Seminary, then in exile in Obiora in 1969. And then, of course, moved from All Hallows Seminary to St. John's Seminary. So I finished my secondary school. Moved from St. John's Seminary to teach in Nsude Seminary. Moved from Nsude Seminary to go to Bigard Memorial Seminary. Moved from Bigard Memorial Seminary after 2 years philosophy to do 1 more year at Ekote just to finish philosophy because the students were too many in Bigard, theologians and philosophers. So moved from that seminary to go to the Collegium Canisianum in Innsbruck, another seminary in Austria. So one sees how the receptions of so many cultures builds you up. So you are not just a monolithic, person. You have become now a conglomerate, sharing the values and virtues and meeting people of various colors. You can now imagine how many rectors I have had, what impacts they have done, how many bishops I have had. I saw the first bishop of Enugu. It was created in 1962. The first bishop of Enugu was John Cross Anyogu. I met him, I served him. I was there when he was buried in 1967. Here in Enugu, we had come back from the north then. And then, of course, I saw the consecration of the second bishop, Michael Godfrey Okoye, who were seminarians in 1970 when he was moved, transferred to Enugu. I served at Mass at that occasion. I served at the Mass that saw the third bishop, Bishop Michael Eneja. He sent me abroad. He was my spiritual director. And then, of course, we came back and I served as even Vicar General of the fourth bishop. That was Bishop Anthony Okonkwo here in Enugu Diocese. And we've had now the privilege of having our own brother, Calista Valentine Onaga, as the bishop, and we are working together. So one sees that, one might even say that in 70 years you have become an elder, become part of the local church, knowing from the foundations till then, and being part of what makes the church tick in our part of the world. And we are not done yet.
Thank you so much, Monsignor. This is quite a portfolio for you. And like you have rightly pointed out, you are a man of diverse culture, studied here in Nigeria. You also studied in Oxford, in Germany, in France, and also in the UK. So one can describe you as, just like you rightly pointed out, a conglomerate of many cultures, and that has made you the person you are today. Now, Monsignor, in the resurgence of what we have described as Neopaganism, our youth, especially Nigerian youth, especially the Igbo, we are going back. They say we are going back to the roots, and that is an affront to to religious institutions, especially Christianity. So, in the wake of this Neopaganism among our youth, I mean, what do you have to tell them? Do we have actually a future for the Igbo church? Most of them are having some aversions for the church, for the Catholic institution, for the Bible, so to say. These are a tiny number of you who are saying that the Bible is scam. In fact, every established institution is scam. So it's not just that there's something wrong with that generation. What do you have to say about that?
Well, Neopaganism is what we call it. They don't call themselves neo-pagans. They call themselves enlightened people. It's a dialogue of cultures. It's a dialogue of civilizations. We should not forget that St. Paul preached to the people of Macedonia. He preached to the people in Corinthia. And they told him, we shall hear about this another time. It's a matter of logic. And St. Paul will come and say, I'm not discussing philosophies, I'm discussing mystery. Now, how do you want to presume that people must understand their mystery just because you preach it? You yourself don't even understand it. So it is a phase in a young church that people are ossified in traditional cultures. And you need to convince them, in the time of Jesus, if you are the Son of God, perform miracles and we shall believe you. So what is it that we are performing that will make people to believe? You must do witnessing by life. And the scandals are many. So when you don't do witnessing of life, people will say this is a scam. Sure. And when we don't practice what we teach, people will say, how can you convince me? If the church came in those days and started evangelizing by schools, people say, at least you gave me schools. People go to God because God gives them something. God didn't give them anything. They won't go. It's not a selfless act. People go to church because they want to go to heaven. They want to be paid at it. So there is a transaction. But this transaction must become transformational. I do not blame young people who are asking questions. The world is really integrated, is interconnected. You only need to sit in one room and you connect with Japan, you connect with China, you connect with Russia, you connect with everywhere, you connect with every village. You gather all that. And if you are not strong enough by virtue of knowledge, by virtue of training, by virtue of experience, by virtue of faith practice, to internalize, let me say, the mysteries of faith. If you had no catechism class, you are just baptized, you might be baptized but not converted. So we have a lot of work to do. It's not even a matter of bias, not even a matter of condemnation. It's much more a matter of dialogue. Let me tell you that what I'm teaching, that the grace, that's the entire life of the Acts of the Apostles, trying to prove to the people at that original time that the message that Jesus Christ, the resurrected, or the power of the resurrection was real. We have to do it here in our part of the world, and we're not doing it enough. We have still a lot of work to do. I mean, when I look at the junior seminaries and the senior seminaries, with so many seminarians, and I see many young people who want to become priests, but are told, sorry, we cannot admit you, we don't have space. So what do they do? Or we see seminarians who have finished their first year, second year, they're still told there's no space for you to enter. So we have this entire, you might say, situation of, I don't want to call it disbalance, we have this situation of trying, first of all, to appetize our people, to convince our people, to witness to Christ, and to allow the grace of God to work. The judgmental attitude of, you know what, these are neo-pagans, and so they went to church. And when they go to church, there's no preaching that helps them to grow in faith. What they hear is second collection and third collection. How can I come to church on Sunday and hear about collections? Is that the message of Christ? I mean, there is a gospel, there's a first reading, there is a psalm, there are the experiences of life, and one has 15, 20 minutes to explain the word of God to them. One spends time talking about other things. So we have a challenge and a burden of mission, and to be authentic in terms of carrying this news that the people may believe, and allowing the grace of God also to transform. When you look at our old catechists, they are people of faith. They walked miles to go for Sunday Mass. People say the church, they sit down in a room on their bed and watch Mass on their bed. They even say that, oh, Cardinal. So there is this entire thing about strengthening the faith we have received. As long as we don't do that, we shall be swell, and it will get worse. Because there is a challenge with secular cultures. Secularism does not necessarily mean that God does not exist. They have spirituality around, they have secular spiritualities. People are developing secular. There are other spiritualities that are in competition. So we who are Christians, who believe in what we are doing, we have a role to play on the intellectual level, on the dialogue level, but on the witness of faith, on the witness of life. in terms of telling people that what I preach is what I do. It's not easy. But that's where also we must at last allow God's grace to do. We have also dialogue with Muslims. And when you come to the Muslims, you have the Sunni and the Shiites. These are also extremes. And then you have also, even among the guys, you have the traditionalists and the liberals. So these contradictions exist. They are part of the dialectics of society. But what I do and what I try to do is to establish a dialogue of civilizations, intercultural, interreligious dialogue, interhuman dialogue, interchurch dialogue, interfaith dialogue, inter-academic dialogue, allows us to do a logic, a rationality between two groups. I listen to you and I take what you are saying, which is right, and I listen first. Because we don't listen, we're already made up. We just want to now impose the things without even telling somebody what's your response. Jesus told, do you believe? Do you believe that it is me? He gave them chance to say yes, or even to say no. If you go back to creation, God gives Adam and Eve the choice of freedom. I give you all this and I ask you, don't eat this fruit. But if you do, if you use it, this is the consequence. And they did what was their own wisdom, their own freedom, calling it temptation. But they also had the consequence. So freedom is a gift. And that's why Immanuel Kant will always say that the greatest gift that God gave to human beings is free will, the right to choose. So when we now condition people, we don't allow them. That's what we call dictatorship. That's why it's not even a good form of governance. And that's what I see happening all around us, that we dictate to people how they will sleep, what they must eat, when they wake up. But they have a choice. They have a free will. And allowing free will, things done out without free will has no vice, has no virtue. When you force somebody to obey you and they just obey you because I obey because I use my free will to obey, that is now virtuous. I obey because I must. There's no virtue in it. Because if I had a choice, I wouldn't. So people must be helped to allow their free will and then listening. Words can always mean one thing. Look at our people. They don't have a culture of dialogue. This is what I mean. Look at families that break up just because of a misgap in communications. So I do think that the need for dialogue is very essential. And St. Paul saying, I am all things to all people, is that spiritual way of looking at what also the entire creation is yearning. There is a dialogue around creation. Entire creation is the everyday opening up, and that is something that is very deep, that we could never know it enough. We could never say it enough. We could never experience it enough. We must be open to the other. And there's always something that the trees tell us, the life of St. Francis of Assisi. There's something the birds, the sunshine, the waters, we have to listen. And that's where meditation comes in. That has helped my life.
Right. Thank you very much, Monsignor. I quite agree with you completely that witnessing is the key. And that echoes the words of Paul VI of Blessed Memory that says that the modern man does not listen to preachers. He only listens to witnesses. And if he does listen to preachers, it's only because those preachers are witnesses. And of course, dialogue too. Monsignor, you founded the Catholic Institute of Development, Justice and Peace, SIGJA, 40 years ago, in 1986 precisely. Can you tell us, what is your inspiration behind that establishment? What do you have in mind?
The founding of the Catholic Institute was a response that was inspired by the Vatican. There was the Vatican Council that ended in 1965. In 1968, Pope Paul VI came out with the motu proprio of Justitiam et Pacem. He was encouraging every diocese in the world to start a justice and peace initiative. And what we know about justice, righteousness, fairness, what we know about peace, is that we have fragility around the world. And Pope Paul VI thought that if he set up a pontifical council in the Vatican and there were no local buy-in, it would just be like something hanging in the air. Here in Nigeria, our people were not even part of the Second Vatican Council because we had a war in Biafra. 3 years, the war ended in 1970, the Vatican Council ended in 1960, ended in 1965, 66, we were not part of it. But come to think about a young student whom the Bishop Michael Aneke had sent to study and to specialize in Catholic social teaching, then in Bonn, in Germany. A study also that was very new because science develops. And from moral theology, you will see that there is a need for dialogue between philosophy and sociology and even anthropology. And it's looking at modern technology. How will the word of God, take shape in the world of business, in the world of politics, economic ethics, political ethics, social ethics, interreligious dialogue and ethics? So my Bishop, Michael Aneke, asked me to specialize in these areas. That's what I did. And when I finished studies and came back, the bishop immediately appointed me the chairman for the Pontifical Commission for Justice and Peace for the Enugu Diocese. As chairman for the diocese, my first appointment, the question was, what do you do out of the commission? The commission's challenges are many, but then the instrumentalization, implementation, activation of the aims of this kind of institution can only be done through an institute that is registered under law, federal government law. That's not just church. An institute that is registered as an NGO, humanitarian organization doing research that can also benefit society and advance the church's role even in society. So we were the first to register a Catholic institute in Nigeria, in the whole country, even as a diocesan organ. But still, bearing in mind that this institute is a work of the church in the social domain. And what we've done since 40 years, and then of course, I continue to be the chairman of the commission. But to make the work of the commission be effective, we founded the institute. So we had a lot of employees who work at the institute. It became now the organ for social development. We could go to places and get money from the European Union because we were like an NGO that was recognized under law. I mean, if a diocese goes to the European Union, they will say, what are we going to do? You go to Rome. But if I came as an NGO, then they will dialogue with me because I'm a non-governmental organization that is recognized by state. Anyway, the 40 years, I was not there all the time. I've been out for some years, up to 8 years when I was in Geneva, 2015, 16 to 2023 when I came back. Other directors have worked also here at the Institute trying to keep it going. But what are the aims of the Institute? The first thing is empowerment of people, promotion of integral development, challenging structures of injustice, working for peace. Now, when you look at the world of prisons, when you look at the fragile environment, when you look at democratic dispensations in our country, when you look at the role of women, when you look at violence, I started when we had military governments. There was Babangida in 1986 who was head of state. And after him, there was Sani Abacha who was head of state. We fought that the military was the wrongest way to manage people. We saw how corruption was embedded and entrenched in our society. And we joined our voices with other civil society actors to ensure that a country like Nigeria got democratic dispensation, which happened in 1999. We have been part of the electoral observation of elections. We pushed ourselves into it, and we made sure that even in Enugu State, and that's what brings you into contradictions of those in power, those who want to rig elections, those who want to deal with people if they don't say that which is wrong, or that which is, that which is wrong. So in trying to manage and direct the Institute, I've had very good bishops who had supported the entire work of the Institute. So we've been able to, through the Institute, add much more value to our diocese at all levels of what we call integral development. Integral development is body, mind, and soul. So the soul is our essence, the body is our physical existence, and the mind is that which makes us different from animals. That's why we can think. That's why we can rationalize. But at all these levels, we have become initiators, innovators, propellers, and above all, implementers of the agenda of the church in our territory. And we've moved beyond our diocese. We have worked with all the province of the southeast, of the south-south, of Nigeria at the level of the Bishops' Conference. And the CJAP has been a voice. By the way, CJAP was the headquarters of the old Justice and Peace Commission for the Southeast for many years. No, not just Southeast, but Southeast and South-South. The three provinces of Calabar, of Onitsha, and of Owerri. CJAP was the headquarters for some years. From 1988, we had a Secretary General who sat on that desk in one of the offices here. So CJAP continues to grow as an NGO. We have many other now. Currently, we have many other NGOs, setting up nice things by Reverend Fathers, including institutions of higher learning. The CJAP continues to be one of the oldest within the entire country. Others have taken our good example. And what we do also is we make sure that our origin is clear. We're a church-based NGO, faith-based organization.
Thank you very much, Monsignor. You just described the various achievements of the CJAB, the Catholic Institute of Development, Justice and Peace. But over these years, if CJAB was to be a person, how would you describe the character of CJAB for 40 years?
Well, CJAB is a person. CJAB are persons, actually. Because every single, when you talk about the amount of money we have mobilized, talk about probably plus minus $1 billion US.
Whoa.
$1 billion US. Talk about the activities we've done. Talk about the network of CJAB.
Whoa.
Talk about the persons who are earning salaries, who are training their families, those who have been trained abroad. CJAB are persons. CJAB is not just buildings. CJAB remains persons also, the young, the old. And what I find fascinating about the institute is over 600 staff, over 600 staff who are working in various projects. Sometimes it goes more, sometimes it goes less. And the documentaries are there. People have done statistics of all those who worked. We are hitting probably plus minus 1,000 people. We had over 400 working in our Justice and Peace farm in those days. Wow. At least for the farm alone, we had over 400. And for the hospitals, spread about 17 of them spread across the diocese. And then you talk about the sponsorship desk, talk about the human rights and the legal aid, and the entire department for prisoners' legal action. Talk about the entire thing about theology for lay people. We have a faculty that gives people certificates that they graduate in Catholic social teaching. They get a diploma in Catholic social teaching. We didn't want CJAB to become just a university. We wanted to be a facilitator of other institutions. Let there be a university, let CJAB support the university. Let there be other than let CJAB. CJAB is a supportive institution. It's an avenue to create, it's a forum to interlink. It's a pontifex, a bridge. And with that, the diocese has agenda, CJAB supports it. And here I can say that being a person is what we do. That's the personification of it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Monsignor. I know that CJAB is indeed a gift to the Nigerian church and also to the Nigerian society. Now at 70, what are you most grateful for? When you go through your lives, the various experiences and challenges you have, what are you most grateful for?
I think one must be grateful for the gift of faith. People live and die. Well, one has faith, and faith in God, and faith in Christ, and faith in the church. That's what gives you your identity. So who we are is actually the background where we come from. Where we come from is our faith experience. And there are many people who are 70, who are 80, who are 100, but they have nothing to hold on. They will hold on faith. And that faith is a faith in a concrete person, Jesus Christ. The reason for our being. And the church he started is the home, the family where we belong. So one has to be very, very grateful for it.
Right. Because at 70, I wouldn't know how to put it. At 70, you are a man of many achievements, both locally and internationally. How would you want history to remember Monsignor Professor Obiora Ike?
I don't know about the titles. He lived somebody who tried to answer the call of God in his own human way. The titles come and go, but who we are is our identity.
Thank you very much, Professor. Do you have any last words for us, the many young people who look up to you, who admire you, your intellectual achievements, your social achievements, and of course your role in the church? What advice for us, young people?
Well, the young is what all of us wish to be. And when people think that I am 70, I always consider myself still young. And what makes, I was chaplain for the youth. I've been chaplain for Holy Rosary College for 24 years. I was chaplain in the deanery in Enugu. I've been a parish priest working with the youth at St. Leo. As Vicar General of the Diocese, I was always there to talk to the youth. As Vicar for Public Relations, the youth were always a focus. In trying to sit in offices to serve the people, the youth remain the most important. It is not just about the future. What I tell the youth is the future beyond and the future within. So let the youth know that there is a future beyond us, there is a future within us. You have to dream. And that when you dream, then that reality comes. But even then, that reality that comes becomes a reason for a new dream. We don't ever give up. So I am one of the youth. I consider myself one. And we have to be youth at heart, young at heart. We have to be young and to take care of, school, starting schools has been one of my greatest passions. I can't even count the numbers of schools I initiated, the numbers of people we trained, sponsorship desk here in Sijab, we're training this year, probably over 800 people, pay their school fees and so on. Because everything about youth is about openness, chance to launch out into the deep. What Jesus did with his disciples, Peter, James, John, catch the fish, but just launch your net, throw it out. So that's what I tell the youth, don't give up, just launch out. You will find that there is something waiting. There's that future within you, there's that future beyond you. That future is not in your hands, but yet you must play a role in it.
Thank you very much, Mons. It's very good to have this discussion and chat with you. You are celebrating your 70th year, the anniversary, and also your 45 years as a priest, and then 40th year of founding Sijab. It will take place this year. Can you give us a brief rundown of the program and the exact dates, the time it will all happen?
Well, we are in the Easter week very soon in April. Easter Sunday, year 2026 is on 5th April, and that's when the event starts with the resurrection of the Lord. So it will be a full week that starts on Easter Sunday and ends on Easter, on the Sunday of Divine Mercy. There is the Tuesday, which is 7th April. That's when I celebrate at Holy Trinity Catholic Church my birthday, and I look forward to seeing a lot of friends, a lot of young people. The bishop is already celebrating the Mass. I look forward to the Bishop of Nsukka is preaching the sermon, and there are a lot of brother bishops, priests, so on, who are coming from far and near. Meiti family, actually all my family relations, wherever they are scattered around the world, are here. That's on 7th April. It's Holy Trinity, and then the other things happen at the Africa Center, all in Independence. There is the 8th of April, which is a Wednesday. That's a very important day because Sijab is marking then its 45th. It's getting people to know what they have been doing and showcasing its activities. There is the 9th and the 10th, which is also an international conference. We are receiving 57 Europeans, Americans, Asians, so on, Latin Americans who are coming to Enugu, 57 of them, flying in from abroad to be part of the event of the international conference. An international conference is focused on 3 key areas: inter-religious harmony, inter-political social inclusion, and ethical education. These 3 areas, it happens at International Conference Center every day from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock on 9th and on 10th of April. And that is, of course, one day where we return home. And this time we'll be at the Eziagu local government area on 11th. My people say they want also to host their son. That will happen outside Enugu with a Mass and all that. And there's the 12th, which will now happen at the Holy Ghost Cathedral. The 12th is a Sunday. I do hope that many of our priests will find time to celebrate with us. There's plenty to eat. And the Mass is the grand finale, we might call it. We're celebrating 45 years of priestly anniversary. The birthday probably also, but above all, the fact that we're celebrating 40 years of Sijab, which is the Diocesan Institute. All that will happen at Holy Ghost. Bishop Hassan Kuka will be with us from Sokoto, and many others coming to have that event. And we look forward to gracing the grace, the honor to receive all those. Government is involved. The governor will be part of the celebrations, and he's assured us that he will make it to come. Many people are involved, people whose lives we've touched. Many of our friends and priests who are living abroad are coming back to Nigeria. Some are coming to give lectures, some are coming to be part of the feast. It's a week of holidays anyway. The Easter week is normally, there's the Good Friday and so on, but after Easter Sunday, offices are closed, mainly our church offices are closed. So nobody has an excuse not to be part of the events. I'm looking forward.
All right, thank you so much, Monsignor, for granting us this interactive section. And I want to assure you that the communications department of the Diocese of Enugu will be part and parcel of your celebration. And once more, congratulations as you celebrate your 70th birthday anniversary, and then 45 years as a priest, and also 40th year of establishment of Catholic Institute of Development, Justice and Peace. Thank you so much, Monsignor.
Much appreciated. God bless you.
God bless you too. Right.